Hello and welcome to My Own Worst Enemy. I'm Mike, and we're back, and we are finally, finally, we are going to look at another game. I will say that when I started this channel a couple of months ago, I really thought Don't Tread on Me would have finished before now, but it didn't, which is good and bad. It's good in that you're actually seeing a game of Don't Tread on Me going on that's kind of rare to get to do so good, really, for me at least. So that's good. But I figured I'd go ahead and start another game so we get a little more variety to the channel, and maybe this will become, we'll start doing some more and more new games. Maybe I'll run them in parallel or have 3 or 4 going, who knows. But what are we looking at here, you ask? Some of you anyway. You older wargamers are looking at that going, is he really going to sit here and play McPherson's Ridge? Well, the answer is yes. So McPherson's Ridge is a game that I do not own the physical copy of. This is a one of those games that I think it was Wargamer's Vault had. It's a print and play type game. It was just a PDF, and I saw it. It's been probably a year or two ago when I bought this thing, but I was looking for something different to do, and I saw this, and I thought, I never played this game back in the day, and it's an old game. I'd kind of like to just see what it played like. I was not into war games. This game, by the way, we'll take a quick look here. It's a Task Force game. It came out in 1980, and in 1980, I was not a war gamer. Unless you consider Starfleet Battles a war game, which some of you probably do. I kind of do, but I was not into historical wargaming at all, unfortunately. And I'm wondering how many times I passed this game on the shelves of Cordova Toy and Hobby at Cordova Mall in Pensacola, Florida, as I went into that store looking for other our role-playing games and other Star Trek paraphernalia. But anyway, so this, copyright 1980. I bought the PDF, and I thought, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to play this game with all the components and rules and everything just like it was in 1980. I'm going to relive some history here and see what was wargaming like in 1980 with Task Force games anyway. And if you look here, you see in this game what you get. You get 200 multicolored, full, thick, back printed die-cut playing pieces. A 20 by 24 inch full color map of Gettysburg and the surrounding area. Keep that bullet in mind. Complete and comprehensive rules of play and a thoroughly researched battle of order and some play charts and whatnot. Now, I will say one thing about this game this is really cool in this game. The thoroughly researched order of battle, and we'll take a look at that in a second here. But that is kind of cool. There is actually, they provide the order of battle. They have the corps and the divisions and the brigades and regiments and their leaders and everything. And that is kind of cool to see that. So anyway, and this game comes with the main, I guess what they call the historical main campaign scenario. Not really a campaign, but scenario. And there's a couple of other what ifs, I think it is. Complexity moderate. You'll note there is no solo play, no solo variant here, but that's fine because if you are if you solitaire game as much as I do, you don't need rules to tell you what to do. In fact, sometimes it can be more fun if a game is not solitaire friendly at all, and you play both sides. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I really wanted to play this game with the components it came with, the 200 multicolored die-cut playing pieces, and I wanted to play with that full color map of Gettysburg. And so much like I did with Don't Tread on Me, I started because this does not exist in Tabletop Simulator. I had to create this from scratch. I started to take the materials from the print and play, and I started to create the map and the pieces. And so this is McPherson's Ridge. This is that full color map they told us that we got in the box if you had the box of this game, and the full colored playing pieces. And so I started to create this map board and the pieces for Tabletop Simulator. And as I did, I started to develop headaches and started seeing things and hallucinating. I decided there's no way that I'm going to be able to play this game, look at this map, or look at these counters. I mean, I'm not gonna knock this war game visual. Well, yeah, okay, I will. It's hideous. It really is. This is horrible. If somebody published something like this today, I don't know how it would be received. These are not kiss marks, by the way. Those are actually railway cutouts. There's a railroad that was being built, and these are cutouts that represent that. So yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop when I first saw it. Thought it was an error. But yeah, look at these pieces. This is infantry. This is your cavalry. Actually, this I think is a leader. And you know, it was a scan from a PDF, so that's part of the problem with being able to read these counters. The other problem is I don't like the art. I don't know. This is a Union infantry guy, and it really I don't know what that looks like. It looks almost like a bear with a pike or something. I don't know. And this horse looks like he's he's stopping because he's about to hit this name. But yeah. So anyway, I started to put this into a tabletop simulator, and I said no, I can't do it. I really wanted to do it. I wanted to be all historical and play it exactly as it was. So me being me, I decided no. Here's what we're gonna do. We are going to jazz it up a little bit. So this is my version of the McPherson's Ridge game map. And what I didn't change a whole lot. I know it looks drastically different, but it didn't take a whole lot to change this map up. And all I did really was apply an aged paper look to it, which kind of gave it its color and this little bit of texture you see. And then I kind of I just really kind of just layered it, and then layered in some woods and the orchard down here, and colored the water a little bit so I could see where the water edges of the hexes were. And I also got rid of the lipstick. And then the other thing I did was I took the counters and I remade them from scratch. Now I did keep all the information that you see on the original counters. I did change the graphics, and I just went and randomly pulled some graphics, I think, out of another Civil War game. I don't remember which one this was. I want to say I got these out of U.S. Civil War from GMT, but I don't know. And so I decided to make these counters. And what I also did, and the original game didn't have this, I decided to add this myself. At least I don't think they had. Let's go take a look again real quick. I think they had... Yeah, they had the they did have the regiment's names, but it's 147 NY. That's could have done a little better in my mind, even in 1980. So I put like the 8th New York, the 12th Illinois, and I also took the each regiment. And if you look here at Beaufort, you can see, and again back to the order of battle. There's Beaufort, but you can see Beaufort was he was a hideous yellow counter in the original version. So I just basically marked Beaufort and his command with yellow, because there are some cases where I think there's some optional rules, or if Beaufort, if he goes into like a melee attack with his units, there'll be a bonus. So that's you kind of mark the groups they're associated with, and that goes back to what I was saying about the order of battle. And this is in the rule book, and you can see here this is the Union Army, and we were just looking at Beaufort, so let's go find Beaufort. He's up here with his cavalry division. So the 1st Brigade was red, and that's those red bars I was showing you. So you have the 8th Illinois, the 12th Illinois, and he would be associated with the that brigade. And then there's the Yellow Brigade and Orange Brigade and Red Brigade, which another Red Brigade with Cutler. So that's kind of cool. It actually, and these leaders, there's not actually separate leader pieces for these regiment commanders. They're kind of assumed to be combined with the regiment. So you don't really get a separate counter for the regiments, but you do get them for the next level up. You get for the brigade commanders, you get their own counters, and the corps commanders. So I think this makes the game a lot more playable for me. It's certainly a lot easier on my eyes. So what am I going to do? I am going to play the main campaign, the historical scenario they call it. So I don't know how far I'll get. I don't know if this will be like Don't Tread on Me, or I'll go to the very end. I might. It is a short game. I'm looking at the rule book. I did print this out. This is the rule book. It comes with PDF. And it's 8 pages. It's not many rules at all. One thing I don't like about the rule book is what I would call a shotgun rule book. And what the heck is a shotgun rule book? Well, there's a lot of information scattered throughout the rule book. It really could use some better organization, I think. I'm used to modern day rule books, a lot better layout, a lot better art, a lot better print. And this one does not have that. It's not horrible. It's certainly usable, and you can certainly figure most of this stuff out. But it's a lot of scattered information. That's why I call it a shotgun rule book. So I've got my table set up, and we have this will be our fire results tables, and we got our die roller here, and I've got some. These are markers. These are markers actually that come with the game. I made my own smaller versions because I played a couple of turns of this, and I got a feel for what I kind of like to see and how these markers should be. Like I said, it's not a modern game, so you'll look if I flip one of these, say, cavalry markers over, you'll notice the other side. All it has is just they're dismounted, and that's what that looks like. Really, no more information than that. So these markers will tell you, if you got a strength, like the third Indiana here has 4 strength points. If it goes down, you'd grab one of these and just cover it to show the reduction. You're supposed to, according to the rules, take a full-size counter and slip it under there, but I kind of, I'd rather kind of make it a little nicer to see than that. Up here I put, and this is another thing I didn't really care much for the game, the rule book, but I've got a victory point tracker for both sides, and it's kind of hard. You get a lot of you've got to remember that when you eliminate strength points or you capture somebody, you tick up the victory points, and you can win what's called a tactical victory if you end the game with more victory points than your opponent. So you have to remember, I just shot this rebel cavalry and he went down 1 strength point, so I got to give myself a victory point. It's a lot of back and forth. I didn't care much for that, but oh well. There will be 14 turns if we make it to the end of this one. We do have a sequence of play, and the way this works is the Confederates will phase first, and we'll just step through these 8 segments where the Confederates will take their segments. We'll switch sides to the Union. They'll take their 8 segments, and then we'll do some record keeping and advance the turn marker. Well, we won't do much record keeping because, like I said, the way I've got this built in, there's not a whole lot of writing I'm going to have to do. They mentioned writing, making notes in the rule book several times about how you should take a piece of paper and make notes, but we shouldn't have to do that. What else? Oh my goodness. So yes, and here you can see some. The Confederates will start coming down Chambersburg Pike. They'll get to start. They all start in hex 1028 here, so they're going to come in, and they will be deployed, and we will start the game that way. And I'm going to take you on another quick trip here. So this worked historically. So this is Gettysburg. This is 7 a.m. July the 1st, 1863. And you had Heth, Davis, and Archer here. So you have Davis was north of Chambersburg's Pike. Archer was south and kind of marched, on either side of Chambersburg Pike towards Buford's cavalry here. So I'm gonna, I've got you saw below. I've got kind of Devon and Gamble set up just like this. So they're kind of along McPherson's Ridge. The artillery's, I think I've got it. Well, it's about, it may be right there where I show it. I can't remember. I think it's certainly up with Devon and Gamble. So that one artillery piece is sitting up here too on our map down below. And Buford's nearby. And so I'm going to have, this is how I'm going to have the Confederates deploy. I'm going to have them come in on that hex. I'm going to have Davis and his guys go up this way. I'm going to have Archer and his guys come down this way. So what that will look like, we scroll back down. We have here, they're broken out by Archer and Davis, and we'll move them into the kind of historical positions they were in, at least according to that historical map I found. And then, as the turn progresses, we're going to have some more Union troops and Confederate troops come in. Reynolds comes in on the second turn, and then we have, it looks like A.P. Hill and some artillery, massive artillery for the Confederates coming in. And then 7 and 9, we have some more units coming in, if we can hold out that long. which brings up another point. So what is the goal, I guess, the victory condition? Well, I told you that you could get a tactical victory by having more victory points than your opponent, but also, and this is the victory conditions they spell out for us. And yeah, here it's saying, players receive 1 victory point for each enemy strength point killed, 1 victory point for each enemy strength point captured. You get 5 for each enemy officer killed or captured, 2 for each enemy gun captured. So there is a lot of bookkeeping. They're right about that, and I don't really care much for that, but we'll deal with it. So it says at the conclusion of the scenario, though, you total up your victory points, and that'll give you your tactical victory. But it says it's also possible for a player to win a strategic victory. And so it says you can win a strategic victory by being the last player to occupy with unrouted units at least 2 hexes of Cemetery Hill. So that's back over here. The Confederate player may win a decisive strategic victory if at the end of the game he controls with unrouted units at least 5 of these hexes of Cemetery Hill. And the Union player can win a decisive strategic victory at the end of the game if all the unrouted Confederate units are west of Seminary Ridge. So if we can keep the Confederates back here, that would be a decisive strategic victory for the Union. So how's it going to work out? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm going to, like I said, I'll try to play this one all the way through. It's what I said 2 months ago with Don't Tread on Me. I don't think this one's going to go 2 months. I hope not. I need to get a little more variety for you guys. And I hope you've been watching Don't Tread on Me. It has gone on for 2 months, but it's been an interesting game. It's an unusual game in that I've played so long and done so well. Those games do not go that way. It is a tough game to play. So anyway, what I'm going to do, like I told you, is we are going to take Davis and his units, and we'll take Archer. We'll split him out too. And like I said, this is kind of cool where they have it, you have these regiments and their list. So the way leaders work briefly too. So if you look at Archer here, he's rated B, which is, it goes A, B, C, and D, with A being the highest and D being the lowest quality of leader. It's kind of a combination of quality and morale. So if we take a look at like the 13th Alabama here, their strength points are 3, and I think the rule book says that it's approximately like 100 men per strength point. So that'd be close to about 300 people, 300 men in the 13th Alabama there. But so certainly the higher that number, the better for you. Like 2nd Mississippi here is at 8, that's a lot of strength points. And then this B is a combination of the leadership effectiveness and the morale of the unit itself. So if the 13th Alabama were to lose its leader, we would bring out one of the C markers. It would just every unit, every regiment that loses a leader will get this average C replacement marker, no matter what they had to begin with, and we'll get to that. It won't change. It will change melee attacks mainly. It won't change the overall morale of the unit. Like, so say if the 13th Alabama lost its leader and had this reduced quality leader attached to it, the morale for the 13th Battalion itself, the men would remain at B, to indicate that, just because you have a bad leader doesn't necessarily mean that entire unit's going to go bad instantly. So the only time that the C would affect that unit, I think, is if it goes into a melee attack. And so if say 13th Alabama gets routed, we would flip it to the routed side, and you'd still have that C on there that would show the current leader's quality. So, like I said, we are gonna spread these out kind of historically, like the map showed us up there. And let's see, is there anything else that we need to address? Well, one thing I will say is I'm going to take these Union... Oops. So when you start the game, the Union got to deploy first, so you didn't really get to see that. I just went ahead and put them out here kind of in their historical position. So, but when you deploy them, the Union gets the choice of deploying these cavalry as either mounted, as they're shown now, or dismounted. And I wanted to show them this way just so you can see what the counters look like. But in actuality, I'm going to start all the Union cavalry dismounted. And the reason for that is because that's really the only way they're going to be able to fire. If they're mounted, they're going to be kind of just big targets. So they're going to start dismounted. And of course, Buford is, he can't attack. He's just the leader. So we're going to leave him as he is. And on the back, you can see it says there's a replacement leader. So if he gets killed in a battle, you flip the leaders and it'll tell you what the replacement is. And here he's fortunate, I guess, that his replacement is B quality. And there's some optional rules about, you can get pretty detailed with replacing leaders. I'm not going to use all the optional rules. That's one I'm not going to use. Like, see, where's Archer? So if he flipped Archer, if he got killed, well, his replacement's a B2. Davis, his replacement's a C, so his replacement's actually a little better than Davis himself. So that's something to remember. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? I don't think so. The only thing I'll say, one last thing. I've never played this game. I did run through a couple of turns just to get a feel for what I'm going to be doing. Maybe one. I got maybe as far as turn 2 and 1. The only thing I did learn from those couple of dry runs, and one of the runs, I took the Confederates and ran them all the way up to the ran them all the way up to the front lines, and I knew it was going to happen. I just wanted to see if it was going to happen. But as you could imagine, the firing range for these cavalry units, it's only out to a couple of hexes. But if you're within 1 hex of the cavalry as they're firing, you get chewed up pretty quick. It's bad. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to run these guys up and try to take some shots while I can. No, don't do that. Don't do that. It didn't work out good at all. And the other thing that I did try just to see how it worked was the melee attacks. And from what I've read, and I've read a little bit of Civil War history. I'm not an expert on Civil War history by any stretch of the imagination, but what I have read, if I remember correctly, was there wasn't a tremendous amount of melee combat in the Civil War. I mean, there was, but it wasn't like something that they tried to do on purpose. And I did run some of these units together and had some melee attacks going on, and that was not a good idea either. It seems to me that would be kind of a last resort thing, and so you're not going to see me do that here unless I absolutely have to. And my plan is not to rush that cavalry line. I'm going to bring them up, I think, kind of slowly. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going to make this up as I go along. I don't know anything about Civil War tactics or any other historical periods tactics. That's why I'm my own worst enemy. So I just bear with me. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. So let's go ahead and start. I may run through one quick turn here and then stop it, and then we can pick it up again later. So I mainly just wanted to show you where we're at and what's going on here and what the next game is. So what we will do is come to the sequence of play. And so that first phase, so basically, okay, leader replacement segment, the commander replacement segment, the fire segment, and the route segment. We're going to skip those because, remember, the Confederates are off the map right now. They're going to come on 1028 here. So they can't do any of these things. Only thing they can do this first turn, is move, really. So I'm going to move these units. And this is another thing I'm going to point out too, because I learned this as I went through this, and it's mentioned in the designer's notes. So you'll notice that the Confederates missed that first fire segment, so they're gonna move. They're gonna move first, so they missed this whole half of their phase. They're gonna move, and then they go through this. We have this thing called defensive fire, and this is kind of an interesting thing too. The way this works is the Confederates get to move, and then in their own phase, the Union gets to fire at them. It gets to make defensive fire. And so and then the Union's going to go. So the way the book mentions is the Confederates could have to go through two volleys of fire without even making a shot. So they could come in here, take some fire from the Union, and then take it again. during the Union's turn. So it's this first turn for the Confederates is a kind of a half turn, and it could be a shock for him, which is, again, I think that's historical, because I think the Confederacy was shocked to find out that there wasn't a militia group in their way. It was the Union Army, at least the part of the Union Army. So what am I going to do? So we're going to start. I'm going to grab this second Mississippi unit here, and we'll just grab it. I'm going to start, like I said, with I'll start with Davis first. So infantry gets to move 5, and there is a terrain chart where you will have to watch your movement factors here. So infantry moves 5, and if you're moving down a road, it's only half a point of movement. So if you're going down a road, infantry could really go 10 spaces. Towns 3, clearing 1, woods and orchards 2. If you're going up a ridge, it's 3. To cross the stream, you get that +1, and that lipstick railroad cut, it's 2. So what I am going to do, so remember, it's half a movement point to go down this road. So to go down Chambersburg Pike here, it would be, to move here would be 1 movement point. So you go half 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So that's 2 movement points to get here. So he has 3 left, and it's 1 to go in open terrain. So he can go 3. So I can go, so that's 2. I can go 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to do just that. We're going to put the second Mississippi is going to deploy here. Now, another thing in this game that's very important is unit facing. So a unit can only fire through its forward hex. It's, well, not forward hex. It's, what's the terminology? It's like Starfleet battles. It's that, those first 3 hexes. And I'm going to look up what they're called real quick. It's in the, well, whatever. We'll look it up. I'm not going to look at them now. I'm taking up too much time as it is, right? It's basically these first, well, I'll show you. This one, and this one. So for this 6th New York, he can fire through these front 3 hexes. So unit facing is very important in this game. And when you move, you can change your facing. So movement isn't, or facing isn't as important when you're moving. So while I am going to put the second Mississippi here, I'm going to change his facing so that he is actually facing, I'm going to put him this way. So I'm going to put him this way. So what that means is he can fire this way, this way, this way. So basically this forward arc. Now, his range is not going to be that great. So he's not going to be able to sit here and shoot across, what's the name of this? Willoughby Run, I think it is. Yeah, Willoughby Run. And if you watch The Twilight Zone, that's kind of an eerie name, but it's Willoughby Run. So yeah, his range, he's not going to be able to hit anything over here. So let's put him there. And then so using the same sort of deployment, let's bring out the 55th North Carolina. And so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I put him next to 2nd Mississippi, that will work. That's within movement allotment. Remember, they can move 5. I'm going to actually change. Yeah, I'm going to change his to like that. And honestly, I'm going to change theirs too, because that's, he can still fire along a pretty good arc here. And then I'm going to take I think that was the 42nd Mississippi. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can sit there. And then these commanders, Davis, they can move, I think it's 9. Yes, mounted cavalry and leaders may move 9. And then, of course, unlimbered artillery would be able to move 7. So Davis here can move 9, but he doesn't want to go that far. He's going to want to kind of stay near his regiments, because he, like I said, he can actually add some assistance with melee, and possibly he could assist with rallying, although with his rating of D, I don't know if they'd really want him to assist with trying to rally. They'd probably do better on their own. So I'm just going to put him here. He can't attack. He's not a unit that can attack on his own. So we'll just stick him here. So that leaves archers, guys. And let's see. Like, so we've got this. Well, we got a couple of. Well, this is a weaker unit. This is probably their best unit. And I am going to. So he's going to come out, and he can move 5. And remember, we want them south of Chambersburg Pike. And we have to be careful because, like I said, the Union does get that defensive fire volley. So, you know, their artillery can certainly hit these guys. I think that's within range. So, if nothing else, we'll probably see some artillery fire this turn. So, 1, 2, 2.5, 3.5. He could come down here. Yeah, let's do it. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if we went that way, we'd be at 3.5. A half. It's not going to do me much good here, though. And I kind of want to put one of the. So let me try for the flank down here. I kind of want. Let's take one. Let's take the 1st Tennessee. And see if we can get him a little further down. So he'd be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be too far. 1, 2, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Yes, he's only gonna be able to get. Looks like down here. That's not really where I wanted him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to move him to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we'll start working him down that way anyway. And then I think I'm going to send the 5th Alabama Battalion that way too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So stacking. You can stack 2 infantry units together. You can stack 2 cavalry units together. You can stack 1 infantry, 1 cavalry. You know, you can mix them up that way. So that's the stacking limits to consider when you're doing this. You can move through units. You just can't end your turn in the same hex with them. Leader, of course, could go into a hex that contained 2 of those other units that I mentioned. So I am going to stack the. Going to stack the 5th Alabama Battalion here. That was right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And then this who was this? 14th Tennessee. That D. So their leadership and their morale's a little low here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just bring them down to here. And then this is the 7th Tennessee. It's a little better. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go to 1525. And then Archer himself, I guess again, he can move 9. So he can get to anywhere here. But he's going to stay with his guys. And we're going to move him. For now, we're going to move him. Where are we going to move? Let's move him just here with this 14th Tennessee. And so, and as we play, I'm going to use these handy-dandy clear plastic discs. So if I wanted to say, oh, these guys have moved, I would simply plink and show you that, he's moved. And actually, you know, when I'm playing an actual physical board game, I do own, and you can buy these things on the cheap. I own tons of these things that are perfect. They're clear, come in different colors, and they go right over the counter so you can show that a unit has moved. I don't know if I'm going to do that here because, like I said, we are starting with the Confederates halfway through their phase anyway. So it's, you know, they've moved. We know they've moved. I'm not going to cover them. Is that it for the Confederates? Is that their movement? I believe it is. So that is the Confederate movement segment. And this brings us down to defensive fire and withdrawal. So the withdrawal part of this defensive fire thing is if a Confederate unit had moved up to, say, hex 1121 here, and like I said, I don't recommend that, but if they did, they could that sets them up for a melee attack. So they could actually on the next turn, move in and do a melee attack with the 17th Pennsylvania. So in this defensive segment for the Union, they can take advantage of this fire and withdrawal segment. They could actually say, whoa, we're not going to allow you to come in here and melee us. We're going to pull back. Of course, they do so at their own risk. They would be subject to fire as they retreat. So it's not a free get out of jail free card for them. They would have to take enemy fire for trying to withdraw. But as it is now, the Union gets to fire back, defensive fire, if they can reach them. So this is Union cavalry, and I believe they're firing carbines, but we're going to make sure. So infantry has either rifled muskets or smoothbore muskets, and if they have an M on the counter, it's smoothbore, otherwise it's rifled. So that's infantry. And then cavalry has either breech-loading carbines, rifled muskets, or shotguns and sabers. So I think it's only the Confederacy that's going to have the shotguns and the sabers. So our Union cavalry here is going to have breech-loading carbines. So breech-loading carbines. So, and I know they're not going to reach, but we'll run through it just to show you what's going on here in case you ever want to play this game. And I tell you what, I still haven't done this for Don't Tread on Me. I plan to, but I'll post the map at least on Armchair Dragoons. If you really want to play this game, I recommend you go buy it. It's like $3 on Wargame Vault. You probably get it through Drive-Thru RPG. They're all pretty much the same, under the same umbrella. $2.99, whatever. So yeah, I'll put this map on there if you want to, if you'd like to print it out and play it yourself. I may put the counters too. I feel kind of weird about that because, like I said, mostly the artwork is mine, except for I think I did these. Not the artillery. That actually, that's one of those things I found that was free off the internet. It was all those no royalties. Download this for free. The other artwork is from, I want to say it's from U.S. Civil War GMT. I don't tie me down to that, but I think that's where I got them from. But everything else is pretty much mine. But I may put them up there. So yeah, let's go down and look at our range here for this. Well, here, let's mark him. So if he were going to fire, let's see what he can do. Let's look at his range. And look, there's those breech-loading carbines. So they can fire up to a range of 2. And so this is what I was talking about earlier with not getting in anybody's face. So if the range is 1 hex away, this times 4 is their firepower. So what that means is you would come up here and look and see, okay, the 6th New York has 4 strength points. So it's 4. And if there were a unit there, that's 1 hex away. It would be times 4. So it's 4 times 4 from our chart. That's 16. That is 16. And, you're trying to get higher on this fire combat table. So that's going to push them up to here. And, that's pretty darn good. You get down to, where do we go? You get down to 2 hexes away. It's only a times 1. So it's 4 times 1. Well, now they're on this chart, which is not nearly as nice. It's not as, you're not going to take as many strength points potentially if you're over there. And there's some things that can change, cause some column shifts here for this fire combat table, which we'll see. But for now, so yeah, our range is 2 for these carbines for the cavalry. So he's not going to be able to hit anything. So we come along down here, Pennsylvania, 17th Pennsylvania, they're not going to be able to hit anything. None of these guys are going to hit anything. So these guys, no defensive fire here. Well, that brings us to this artillery unit. Now, the artillery units, you see the A/2 US-6R. Well, the 6R is going to tell us what type of artillery and how many there are. So there's 6 of these artillery units with this counter. And the R will tell us that those are rifled guns. And those rifled guns, they have a range of up to 15 hexes away. So, yeah, they're probably going to do some defensive firing here. Why not? And you can see there's different types of the artillery used here. And this is kind of cool, too. And it lines up with what each side used historically. And we'll see that. And you can see that those, looks like those Whitworths are what you'd want, at least for long-range stuff anyway. I don't know if we'll see any of those come in or not. Maybe we will. And so these artillery units can have multiple batteries, different types. well, not the Union. I think the Union only used one type per grouping. I don't think they mixed their artillery like the Confederates did. I think I saw that in the notes. So if we look at the Confederate artillery, you'll note, yeah, see, here's an example. They would use these Napoleons and these howitzers. So they would have two different types of artillery they can fire with. So let's go down here. He can fire. Again, I did not change he's unlimbered, by the way, so he can do this. Didn't change the firing arc, so he can fire along this way, or this way. So basically he can hit anything where he's at. And he's got to have line of sight. There is line of sight in this game. It's not incredibly complicated. It's not going to apply here because he's on a ridge and he's looking down. So there's nothing in his way. So he can hit certainly any of these forward units. And I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's 4 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 to that really strong unit up there. And I will tell you another thing. When I'm solo playing, I'm kind of role playing it too, and I'm not looking a lot of. And one of the things I like about solo play and drove me away from multiplayer. And I'm not saying I don't do multiplayer. I do, but one thing I don't like is the gamer that in multiplayer, when you're playing with a person that wants to just win through, I want to win at all costs, whether it's realistic or not. I want to win. So. I look at this and I see this artillery unit. And would he really fire up here at the 2nd Mississippi, or would he fire at these closer in units that are coming down Chambersburg Pike? I don't know. To me, I would think he would fire at one of these closer forward units, but I know that's a much nicer target up there. I think he would fire at either the 42nd Mississippi or the 13th Alabama. Now somebody's saying, oh well, that's the stronger unit, and he's higher morale, blah blah blah, and that's who I would attack. Maybe, but I don't know. I think he's going to... the other factor is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 away. These are 4. So let's take a quick look at... Well, let's see. What was the artillery there? He was going to fire rifled guns. That's right. So let's look... Ooh. So that rifled... yeah, he can fire out to 15 away. So he could... So it's 4... Not going to matter here. So it's going to be times 1. So it's going to be an attack of 6 on any of these. I just think that, if you're this artillery battery, and I don't even know if you could see that from way over here, who knows. So I'm going to say he's going to shoot, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. I'm going to say he's going to shoot at this 13th Alabama right here. And of course, I'm going to grab one of my, this is just for my benefit, because so I'll know his target. So he's going to fire, this artillery unit's going to fire on the 13th Alabama. And like I said, they're 4 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know I can go like this and show you that, look, there's 4 away. See, I do watch Saturday Night Fights. And I can do this too. We're going to fire at that unit. So, okay, so it's 6 from 4 away. And that would be 6 times 1 is 6. So we come down here and we look and we see, and I also have my little handy dandy marker. If you've watched Don't Tread on Me, I kind of like to use these little things. So from, he's on this chart, this column, I should say. He's on this column, the 3-6 column, and there could be some shifting here. So we look for the modifiers. Is it in a town? No. Is it on higher ground? No. Is it in the woods? No. Is it dismounted Union cavalry? No. Is it infantry or dismounted cavalry fired at by only artillery? Well, here it is. It's, it's saying if just artillery is firing at that unit, and it's firing at infantry or dismounted cavalry, it's a column shift. So that's actually going to shift this down. And then and these all are cumulative. So then we keep going. Is it fired at through more than one front? If it's fired on through more than one frontal hex, no. Target unit is mounted cavalry, no. Is it fired on through an enfilade hex, which would be from the rear? No. So we're on the 1-2 column now. So these column shifts do hurt. You want, like I said, if I can speak. Like I said, you want to get your firepower higher on this fire combat table. It's certainly better for you as the attacker. And of course, it's impossible. You can't go any lower than the 1-2 column. You can't shift off, and you can't go above the the 4150. So you could come down here and start here and get a shift to the left. It says what it's saying is no, you can still always choose to take a shot on the 1-2 table. So we're going to do that. And am I forgetting anything else? Yes. So you roll the die, and that will tell you how many strength points worth of damage you do to the unit. Now, if you roll a 6 on your die roll, then there's a chance for leaders to be killed. So we would have to check for that, and that could lead to different things. That could lead to a unit routing. So if you roll a 6 as the attacker, that's always good. Well, let's see one other thing. I'm getting carried away. As I said, there are optional rules in this game. There's not many, but there are, and I do like to use most of them. I'm talking like I played this game 100 times. I played it. I played a couple of turns, but I do like some of these optional rules. And one was with the artillery, and I'm looking it up, but basically it's to check for drift. So it's not an automatic fire and see what you get. There's some here it is. Yeah, here's optional artillery rules. So the commanders can add a bonus if they stack with the artillery. I like that one. Chance for exploding limber. Chance for ammunition depletion. So this says anytime a player rolls one resolving artillery fire, there's a chance the battery will be depleted for the remainder of the game. I don't like that one, so I'm not going to use it. But this one I am going to use. This is accuracy. So we're going to fire. There's a chance that the battery will either overfire or underfire by 1 hex. So anytime artillery is fired, before you fire, you're going to roll 2 dice to check for accuracy. If you roll a 10 through 12, then it's either overshot or undershot, and you'll roll a d6. 1 to 3 is underfire, 4 to 6 is overfire. And that fire will affect any units in the hex. So yeah, there could be friendly fire. So before this Union piece fires, let's see if there's any drift in the artillery. And let's see what we get. So he's going to fire. Well, that's certainly going to drift. That's a 12 in the 10 to 12 range. So, okay. And then we're going to see if this is going to be a overfire or underfire. And remember, 1 through 3 is underfire. And he rolls a 2, so it's gonna underfire. So another reason I brought this targeting marker out is that artillery fires and the barrage lands this side of Willoughby Run. So no point in even going any further. I'm going to leave this on here just to show that he did do his defending fire. It's not really going to matter too much because, like I said, we're still in the Confederate phase. If we come down, this marker would come off anyway. So yeah, that artillery barrage explodes here and does nothing. So coming on and down, these 2 cavalry units, 1, 2, or they can't fire. These guys 1, 2, yeah, they can't fire. No more defensive fire for the Union here. And so, with that said, we'll just go ahead and throw that out of the way now. That was the defensive fire segment. Go to Confederate melee segment. Well, there's no units they can even think about melee at this point. And like I said, that wasn't really such a great idea when I tried it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have had better luck. Let me know. And then the rally segment. So there's no one needs rallying here. No, we'll get to that eventually. And that's it for the Confederate player. So what I like to do is stick the gray Confederate marker up and bring down the blue Union marker. So we start the Union phase of this game. So, okay. And it's kind of like the Confederate one here a little bit in that. So if we had lost any leaders or commanders, we would go through the replacing of them in this segment. But, they hadn't even taken fire yet, really. So we come back down to this fire segment again. And this is where I said that it's possible for the Confederates to take fire twice before they even get a shot off. And that's really exactly what's going to happen here. It's basically that defensive fire round again. Now here it's because the way where I move these units to, they're not going to be able to shoot. It's going to be just like the last defensive fire phase. The only person that can fire is this artillery unit. So they're not going to get to do a whole lot. And that was intentional on my part. I didn't want to run anybody down the middle of Chambersburg Pike and have them chewed up. They'll get chewed up soon enough. So with that said, what's going to happen, and I'm going to move this down again to help me. this artillery battery is going to fire again. And you know what? I think he's going to just take another shot at the 13th Alabama here. So we're back to where we were. He's range hasn't changed. He's still at 4. So it's a 1, I believe, right? It is a 1. So he is on the 1-2 column again because of the shift. He's firing only at infantry. I'm not sure why that causes a... if you have an artillery unit firing by itself on an infantry or dismounted cavalry unit, I don't know why that would be a penalty. Maybe it's harder to hit because it's a smaller single unit. I don't know. If you let me know. Like I said, don't know much about Civil War tactics or weaponry or any of that stuff. So if you have a theory on why that might be, please let me know in the comments below. So we go back to our accuracy check here. And let's see if they do not. No overfire or underfire. So when they shoot, whatever they shoot is going to land here on the 13th Alabama. Now let's see if they do any damage then. So we're looking for a 5 or 6 to cause damage, and the 6 would trigger a check for leader loss. So let's see what we get. A 1. So that is a miss. All right. And then, we would continue looking to see if the Union side can fire. They cannot. So I'm going to throw that over there. Brings us to the route segment for the Union, and they can't route. Or rather, there's no need to check for route. And then that takes us to the movement phase for the Union. And so here's where we can move our units around. And only thing I'd consider moving at this point would be Beaufort. And honestly, I'm going to move Beaufort because, like I said, where'd the rule book go with the commander bonus? So it says here, a little abstracted, they admit, but it says it reflects the importance of having a commander who knew where to direct their artillery fire. So what this does, if you have a division or corps commander stacked with the artillery unit, then it's going to allow that artillery piece to fire twice at the same target. So it'd be 2 attacks. That would be pretty powerful. And right now, Beaufort, he isn't doing much else. Like I said, we may use him to help rally and get some units back into action. But for now, he's not doing a heck of a lot. So I could move him here, and that would allow this battery to fire twice, which is nice. Risky too, because if this artillery piece gets attacked, then there's a chance of losing Beaufort, but I don't think that, oh, we also have Gamble here. What am I doing? I don't think that, and Devon, I flipped them. I flipped all of my, okay. I flipped all of my leaders, but good thing I caught it. But yeah, I don't think they're going to attack. Well, who knows? I think it's worth whatever minor risk is there. I'm not going to move Devon or Gamble just for that reason, because it's going to open them up to us losing them if they get fired upon. So I'm going to leave these guys where they are. I'm not going to change the cavalry status. I'm going to leave them dismounted. Like I said, they get to fire when they're dismounted, and it's a powerful attack if these Confederates get up into 1 hex away from us. So they're going to hold their ground. Remember, we're trying to buy time. We've got these reinforcements coming in. They're not much in the way of reinforcements, but they'll come in from, I believe they come in up Emmitsburg Road here. I think they appear actually on this hex, and we'll figure out how we're going to get them to the battle. And I don't think they're going to run into Gettysburg and around. I think it's probably quicker for them just to come running up this way, but we'll see when we get there. So, I guess I should have moved this. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to move anybody else, just Beaufort there. He's going to stack with that artillery unit. Now the Confederates can fire. They can go through their defensive fire phase, and they're looking at the same problem that the Union had. So these Confederate infantry units are using, let's go look. They're not using, there's only 8 pages, shouldn't be hard to find, right? They are using, well, where did it go? Oh, I see what I did. I've got all my, I flipped all the pages. Okay. Infantry has either rifled muskets or smoothbore muskets. Well, so there's no M on their counters. Let's see. At least not in this front row. No M's that I can see. So they're using rifled muskets. So rifled muskets, how far can they fire? Those rifled muskets can fire up to 4 hexes away. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Well, 1, 2, 3. So this guy can't. Starting here, this guy can't hit anything. This guy, 1, 2, 3, and he can't hit anything. This guy, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can actually fire at the 9th New York or the 17th Pennsylvania from right where he's at 4 away with his rifled musket. So it's at a half, so it's his strength points times 1/2. So he would be firing at, what is he at? Well, he's at 7, so he's at 3.5. I think it rounds down though. So that would put him on this column if he fired. And then we look again at these modifiers. And if he's firing, he's on lower ground than these units. So he's firing up towards those units. Targets are not, they are higher, so there'd be 1 column shift already. So there's 1. I don't believe they were in the woods. No. It is dismounted Union cavalry, so that would be another shift. But remember, we can't shift again. Lowest you can go is this one. So it's going to be on the 1-2 column if he chooses to fire. And I don't know why in the world you wouldn't fire. I don't know why. It's, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's you might as well take the shot. You don't lose any. Yeah, we've already gone through fire and we've already gone through movement. So if they had, well, yeah, this is the Union turn. So yeah, they've got nothing to lose here. Why not? Like I said, you know, if you roll a 6 on this attack, you actually stand a really good shot of causing leadership and morale problems on the other side. So sure, this unit will fire. So we're going to say that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to fire at, I don't really care. Let's see. He's going to fire straight across. So he's going to fire, let's make this his target. So he's going to fire at the 17th Pennsylvania, and he is on the 1-2 column. There you go. And that's why not take the shot? So he does hit. That's a strength point, and we're going to have to check for a leader loss. So first, let's take the strength point. So that's 1 from the combat table. You do 1 strength point casualty to the 17th PA. So they go from 3 to 2, and I like to just grab one of these little markers, and we'll just place it. So he goes from 3 to 2. Now, when they run out of those strength points, they get removed from the game. But for now, he's just down 1. And so remember, because the Confederates caused 1 strength point to come down, they get a victory point. Just, I don't like that, but we'll try our best to keep up with it. So then the other thing is, now we have to check for, to see if this leader or command was affected. And you can't capture a unit because it's not melee. So if we get a C result, it'll be no results, no capturing. If we get an E, the officer is eliminated. Or if we get an E asterisk, it says roll again. Well, roll again until you get another E. Well, not till you get another E, but if you get another E, then he's eliminated. So the way this works is we go look at our leader rating was a C. So we're going to look on the C column here. So that would place us on the C column. I'm going to roll 2d6s, and the results are kind of randomized here, but we'll see what we get. We'll see if we lose a leader. Let's clear this. It'll be 2d6. That's a 7. So it's a no event. Nothing happens. So leader survived. So So we did that check, and actually, yeah, that's right. So, okay. All right, we're good. And I don't think there was a morale check there either. I think that's, I think it's just check for the leader loss. Let me double check that. So taking casualties. Let's see what it says. Morale. Because I know that definitely have to do the leadership check, and I don't think if they lose a strength point, I thought there was something about maybe having to take a morale check if you lose one of your strength points. But looking here under the morale chart, I'm not seeing it. Just double check, because we want to try to play this as best we can. Just in case anybody wants to spend $3 and play McPherson's Ridge. I don't know why you would. Well, yes, I do. The same reason I'm doing it. It's interesting to play one of these really old games and see what it was like. And I'll do at the end of this thing, maybe I'll do a summary and talk about what I liked, what I didn't like. You've already heard some of it, but there'll be more. Now I'm looking. I don't see anything about route and rally. Unit must have their morale checked for the possibility of rout when they receive fire combat casualties or when they are forced to retreat. So I take that back. So they will have to go through a morale check here. And so we're going to roll, and there's going to be 3 possible outcomes it's telling us. Or 3 possible die modifications based on... Okay, yeah, this is where I told you that the leader's quality affected the unit's morale. And it's just, their leader is a C. So we will be looking at the morale check on the C, this C rating for the leader. So basically what this is telling us is you roll 2d6, and on a 7 or less, that unit will not rout. And it's telling you here that if these are the modifiers I mentioned, if it's an A or B commander, you would subtract 1 from that roll. So that these stronger leaders would be better at rallying. If it has no leader, you would actually add 1 to the roll. And if you get one of these dummy leaders, the bad leaders, then you would actually add 1 to your rolls, showing that that's not a very good leader. And if you're doing a rally check, we're not doing a rally check. Well, we are doing no, we're not doing a rally check. We're doing an actual morale check to see if they break or not, see if they rout. But if you're trying to rally them, you would automatically have to add 1 to the die roll. So that's something to remember. So here, we're trying to get a 7 or less to see if they do not rout. So let's see what they get. And they get a 6, so they're not going to rout. That's good news for them. So there, we did do that right. So I'm going to leave this here to show that he has already taken advantage of his defensive fire, and I think this guy 1, 2, 3, so he can certainly take a shot, and I think he's going to take a shot at the 12th Illinois. So again, he's got the rifled muskets, and he is 1, 2, 3 away. So rifled muskets from 3. He is at a half still, or not still. He's just like his friend. So that's going to be 1.5. He's firing at dismounted Union cavalry, so he's going to be on this, no question about it. And let's see what he rolls. So he shoots, rolls a 4, which is a miss. So he's taken advantage of his fire, and now can this guy? 1, 2, yep, he can certainly fire. So he's going to take a shot. Same thing, he's at 3, and he is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So he's just going to fire. Oh, is this guy on? I don't think it's going to matter. So he's going to fire on this guy down here. He'll fire down here. So he's at same column, same thing, and he fires. He does hit. Not enough for a leader casualty check, but it's enough for a possible rout. So he does hit. He does 1 strength point damage to the... Oh, they're starting at 2. That's not good for them. So that's going to bring them down to 1 strength point. And because they took 1 strength point, it's 1 victory point for the CSA up here. Don't need that anymore because he's fired. Well, they do have to do a rally check. Not a rally check, a route check. They wish they were rallying. So their leader is a C. It looks like it's going to be the same thing. They're going to need to roll a 7 or less. Let's see what they roll. No modifications to this. Oops. Well, that's not good for them. That's telling me that they rout. So this is a... Where'd we go? This is a cavalry unit that is routing. So what that means is we take a routed marker. For the infantry units, you would simply flip them. For these cavalry units, the flip side is dismount. So you have to put a routed marker on there to show that they are now routed. And what is that going to mean? Well, let's get back up those route rules I was just reading. I think, though, we have to go through the rally phase. I think we don't do anything right now, but I think... actually, let's go take a quick look at that. Because remember, we're still in the Union phase. Rally segment. So, yeah, so we're just going to mark them as routed. And I don't think... The thing I do want to check is if there's any movement tied into this route. I mean, would they move, run away, and then try to rally? So let's see. If the adjusted die roll total is equal to or less than, then they don't rout. If it is greater than, it has routed. If the unit, let's see, if the unit which is routed moves through a hex containing friendly unrouted units, then those unrouted units must immediately have their morale checked. And this is what I meant by shotgunning, because now I have to go to a different section. So rout takes place when a unit fails to pass its morale check. Rout simulates the scattering of battle panicked men. Immediately flip to its routed side, or with cavalry, we put the routed marker on it. The unit must immediately retreat its full movement allowance within the limits of the rules on retreat. And here it refers you back to another section to look at retreat. So unit must always move through a hex, must always move further away from an enemy unit. I guess the only thing, I'm just trying to see how far they're going to go. Must immediately retreat its full movement allowance within the limits of the rules on retreat. And of course, the rules on retreat are just talking about, you know, stacking issues that may happen. And movement through those units. Retreating off the map, that's not going to happen here. They're not going to retreat into an enemy unit. Okay, so I guess from what I'm reading here, they're going to fall back their full movement allowance. Moving further away from the unit. So this, is this a ridge? No, that's an open hex. I mean, he's in an open hex. So it's telling me that the closest unit was up here. So he's going to just basically fall back his maximum movement. And I believe I said that cavalry can move 9. No, or was it 7? I think it was 9. It is 9. So, wow. Well, he's not mounted, so he can't move 9. He can only go 5. He's dismounted, so his movement is the same movement as an infantry unit. So he's going to move 1, and then up that is, I think, 3. He's not going to go very far. He's going up a ridge, so that's 3. So he would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I don't think he can even move. He might be able to move back here on the other side. So let's move him 1, 4. So that's 4 just to get there. He might come down this ridge. I don't think, nothing to come down it. It's clear. It's just 1 to move 1 more. Although, no, I take that back because he's on the ridge already. It's not any extra cost to move 1 more unit on the ridge. He's probably just going to do this. So you don't get, it's not, when you move back onto a road, you don't get, it's not half a movement if you're moving into the road. It's only if you're moving along the road. So that's his full movement. He's going to come back here. There you go. So they routed the first PA already. And I have 2 of these out. So he's done his fire. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, these other guys can't fire. So that's going to be the defensive fire and withdrawal segment for the Confederates. I'm going to go ahead and take these off now. And that's going to bring us down. There's no melee. So then we go back right into the rally segment. So this unit that just routed now gets a shot at rallying. So let's pull those rules out. Basically, we're going to roll on that the same chart. We're going to add the +1 because it is a rally attempt. So let's see what the procedure says for rallying. Well, it's just that. So, okay. We can handle that. So his leadership rating morale is a C. So we come down to this morale chart. It's still on this 7 or less. He's got to roll a 7 or less to rally. We're going to have to add 1 to that roll because it's a rally attempt. So let's see what we get. Let's clear that and see what he does. It's an 8 + 1 is 9. That is not going to be enough. So he's going to remain in the routed state. He's not going to rally. So he's going to sit there for now anyway. I honestly don't remember what happens if we come back around and he's routed. I guess we'll find out when we get back to that route segment. I think he just sits there and tries to re-rally. I don't think he's going to keep moving. And we can certainly bring Gamble or Buford down here to help try to talk them into going back into enemy fire. So he failed that. Since this was the Union phase, this brings us to the end of the turn. So we advance the turn marker into turn 2. So let's take a quick look here. This is the end of turn 2. I don't think there's much record keeping to do other than move that turn marker. The Confederates have 2 victory points. The Union has none. Of course, it's just starting. And there you go. I'm going to stop it here. I really just wanted to get at least 1 turn in, mainly do that introduction to show you guys that I do have more games than Don't Tread on Me. I've actually got a lot more games than Don't Tread on Me. I have many, and more games coming, hopefully. So again, I appreciate you watching this. I really would like to see feedback on this one. We did go to Board Game Geek, and I am going to post this playthrough on Board Game Geek and maybe see if anybody over there even has any thoughts on this game. But I would love to hear thoughts from people who have played this back in the day or even who still play it. I'd love to have your thoughts on, well, 1, what you think of my graphical update, and 2, let me know if there's any rules I'm messing up or forgetting, or just if you want to give me your thoughts on what you think the game is like to play. Let me know. It should be interesting, and we'll see if the Union can hold the Confederates back until reinforcements arrive, and we'll see if the Confederates can get all the way to Cemetery Hill. I don't know. We're going to find out. So thanks again, and remember to visit Armchair Dragoons and join us over there. It's an awesome war game site. A lot of forum talk about war games. There's Saturday night fights where twice a week now, where Cyrano is running. Last night they ran Command and Colors. I think it was Ancients. Fantastic looking game. I don't have Command and Colors. I was eyeing the Napoleonic version, or Tricorn looks really interesting to me. I love the American Revolution period. And that one, as I understand, is a little different than the other Command and Colors series. There's I think it's easier to route troops in that game than it is in maybe some of the other games. So I've got my eyes on Command and Colors now. But yeah, come on over to Armchair Dragoons and check out what's going on. And thanks for watching, and I hope you'll come back for turn 2 of McPherson's Ridge.